Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Robert Phoenix here, and I am broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg. It is 8:30 in the morning. I'm trying to get into my normal spot here where I usually have in the past done some broadcasts from, and dealing with the latency of the internet. And I'm working on a new model here. So bear with me as I work on the new model. The new model being a new form of actually accessing the internet. So I plugged it in today, and results are decidedly mixed. But I'm working away at it. So good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. Good to be here, and back in the old space. I'm working on another studio as we speak, and I'm just trying, hopefully, to get the. I can't be sitting down all the time. Sitting down is not good for me. It's not in my nature to sit down all the time, and I actually find that my broadcasts are different when I sit versus when I stand, because I tend to be more engaged on a physical level, on a visceral level. So I'm back, and I'm doing my best to get this thing wired up. So bear with me today. There's probably going to be some latency, some maybe some pixelation, but I guarantee you by tomorrow that'll be over and done with, and hopefully more than likely the new studio will be up and running, and you guys will have a different kind of venue to access the show on. And I was thinking this morning that I really wanted to say thank you to everybody and start this show off, or start today here on the 4th of June with a feeling of gratitude in my heart for you guys, and being able to be a part of this morning streamcast, livecast. I turned it into a podcast later in the day, and I just want to thank every one of you, even the trolls who show up and participate. And it's good. Participation is good. I'm thrilled. Tomorrow, we're looking at, again, trying to sort some things out with some new connections here so I can broadcast and get out of Studio Way. I love Studio Way, but that Studio Way is for astrology. That's the temple. That's the temple of the stars. Studio B is here, and I'm working on Studio C. Oh yeah, there's a Studio C coming. So anyway, let me just do a quick check on YouTube. And again, I apologize in advance if we're dealing with some latency and some hiccups on the signal. Just want to say hi to Justice and Paulette and Isla and Phoebe and Jenny and Tigreal. Just want to say hi to everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Now remember, tomorrow we'll be broadcasting at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's 9 a.m. for you people on the East Coast, and 7 a.m. for you early risers on the West Coast. Sorry, 6 a.m. 6 a.m. That's even earlier. Even earlier. Jasper is in his usual position here in Studio B, right next to me, because I have a riser. He can't really get in on the action, but he's right here. He's right next to me, the co-producer of the show, the spiritual guide of our program today. Okay, so A couple of things crossed my radar. First of all, there's a shooting that just happened in Australia. And let me just give you the rundown on that one. It's in Darwin. And I don't have a whole lot of details on this thing, but it's part of this now global network to link shootings. So let me read this to you. This is 4 killed in northern Australia. At least 4 people have been shot dead by gunmen in Darwin, northern Australia, police say. Eyewitnesses said the gunman entered a motel in an inner suburb of the city and opened fire in a number of rooms before fleeing. That just seems so random, doesn't it? I mean, all right, let me keep reading here. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the shooting was not terror-related. Police said they believed the man had acted alone, and they were not looking for any other suspects. Mass shootings have been a rare occurrence since the country overhauled its gun laws in 1996 in the wake of a shooting in Tasmania that killed 35 people. That's one of the things that that really stands out, is that Australia has some of the toughest gun laws on the planet. And Brennan Tarrant, the guy who supposedly went up and shot up the mosque in New Zealand, was from Australia. And there was really no indication as to where he got his guns. Anyway, let me keep reading this. What do we know about the shooting? Northern Territory Police Duty Superintendent Lee Morgan confirmed the fatalities and said 2 more people had been injured. The city remained in lockdown for an hour after the gunman fled the scene of the shootings. In the suburb of Woolner, the gunman reportedly carrying a pump-action shotgun, and up to 20 gunshots were heard. At least 4 dead in Darwin, CBD shooting, multiple crime. That's a tweet. Witness Leah Potter told ABC News that a woman was shot multiple times in the legs at the Palms Hotel. A man came running with a woman with his arms from next door. With a woman in his arms from next door, which is the Palms Motel, which is the motel next to my motel. And he just dropped her on the footpath right in front of us, she said. I ran and got some towels, wrapped her legs. She had little holes all in her skin on both her legs, and she was bleeding everywhere. So the little holes seemed to be consistent with shotgun shot. He shot up all the rooms and went to every room looking for somebody, and he shot them all up. Then we saw him rush out and jump into his Toyota pickup and rush off, Mr. Rose said. According to Australian news site news.com.au, police were treating the Palms Motel as the main crime scene. Reports suggested there may be fatalities at 2 other sites in the area, the Buff Club, and Gardens Hill Crescent. It's interesting because we're headed to the crescent moon here, just as we move out of the new moon Gemini phase. Deputy Prime Minister Michael McCormick said authorities were waiting to hear more about the circumstances surrounding this dreadful and tragic event. Australia saw its worst mass shooting incident in more than 20 years last year, when 7 members of the same family died in a murder-suicide. More recently, a man was killed and 3 others wounded in the shooting outside a popular nightclub in Melbourne in April. So, again, this is a country that has had some of the strictest gun laws on the planet. And it is it's always intriguing to see when this happens. Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws, of course, in the United States, and it's never stopped the wonderful citizenry of Chicago from deciding to take target practice with one another on an almost daily basis. So there seems to be a non-connect between gun laws and shootings. Surprise, surprise. Although apparently in Australia it is not as common, since this was a big deal. But it's a shotgun. And so what I've been talking about for years now, I'm on the record for years, and this happened when Oscar Pistorius killed his model girlfriend, Rita Steenkamp. And Oscar Pistorius, if you're not familiar with him, was a double amputee who is a sprinter from South Africa. And he was allowed to participate in the Olympic Games, not the Paralympic Games, but the Olympic Games with blades on his feet or legs. So instead of having calves and shins and feet, he had blades. And those blades were springy, would allow him to sprint. He was very fast. And he became this global cause celeb because he was breaking new ground as an athlete, not just as a Paralympic athlete. And he was dating this woman who was also disabled, but also a model, and it was their disabilities that brought them together. And her name is, I think it was Rita Steenkamp. Anyway, she came from a very wealthy family, which I later found out through my research. He killed her. Apparently he was quite abusive. More than likely he was abusive due to the fact that he was taking performance-enhancing drugs, which will always fuck up your nervous system and your cells and all that stuff, right? That's probably what happened. I'm not giving him a pass, but it probably was part of the story. Anyway, he killed her, and I immediately noticed that story was being treated as if Oscar Pistorius was a citizen of the United States. That's what it felt like. And I began to get this sense that they were going to connect gun crime and gun incidents at a global level to the United States, because it's all about numbers. It's a numbers game. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to get into something which is going to be the segue into my next piece here, which is a very important one. Very, very important, because it is the future of where things are going in terms of profiling people, citizens of this country, the United States of America. So essentially, the global networking of gun-related violence is part of a, how do I say this? I guess a program, for lack of a better term, to create numbers and to give people a sense that gun violence is pervasive and prevalent everywhere, and that nobody is safe. And the only way we can make people safe is by taking unsafe people out of the picture. And this is the transition or the segue to my next segment, which is a bill that's running through Congress right now, and it's sponsored by a congressman from the state of Texas. His name is Brian Babin, or Babin. And it's the interesting thing about this Babin guy is that well, first of all, he's a very early Aries. And he came into politics late in life. He's in his 70s, and he only got elected, and he was unsuccessful in a number of his attempts to get elected. He finally broke through. The guy's a dentist, and he was appointed to a dental board here in Texas. He's got connections with Rick Perry, so he's embedded at a high level in terms of the state government. But really, he just started running for public office earnestly in prior to 2014, but he got elected in 2014. So let me take you into the world of Brian Babin and his TAPS Act. TAPS. Remember that. Because it's TAPS. It's taps for freedom is what it is. You know, they blow taps, right? And it's like, taps is your you know, blah, 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 right? That's taps. Not reveille. Taps. So, the TAPS Act is what we're looking at. Taps for freedom. Here's Brian Babin presenting the TAPS Act.
Non-exhaustive list have something in common. Every single one of these attacks was carried out after someone close to the killer observed and reported concerning behavior to the authorities. The good news is there is something that we can do to fix this. I gave that speech on the floor of the House of Representatives just 12 hours before the tragedy at Santa Fe High School. Only 15 miles outside of my congressional district in Texas. Targeted violence has taken the lives of thousands of innocent Americans. This crisis is impacting our country indiscriminately. In the most powerful and innovative nation in the world, there's absolutely no reason that we should not feel safe in our schools, where we work, or the places where we worship, or anywhere else in the community where people gather. Americans want solutions. I believe that we've found one. In 1981, an assassination attempt was made on President Ronald Reagan. The U.S. Secret Service began studying individuals who had either attacked or come close to attacking public officials. That study led to the process of identifying, investigating, assessing, and if necessary, mitigating threats posed by those who may be on a pathway to violence. A process called threat assessment and management, and it works. Since the attack on Reagan, no president has come that close to losing his life. And seeing the merits of this, others, including the FBI and NCIS, put into action their own systems of threat assessment and management. If it works to protect our president and other public figures, why not use it for the rest of us? The problem is that, by and large, culture and fabric of contemporary law enforcement, particularly at the state and local level. I want to ensure that if a local entity wants to learn how to use this process, the federal government is equipped to help them. This is where the TAPS Act comes in. This bill is experts who will advise in creating a national strategy aimed at preventing targeted violence by using threat assessment and management. trains. The overall goal is for us to use this life-saving method. This strategy will include a program that helps build locally driven threat assessment and management units and a specialized program to protect our schools. The TAPS Act is about connecting the dots before an attack occurs. Let's not forget, law enforcement interacted with the Parkland, Florida school shooter 39 times. Every warning sign was there. They were not failures to connect the dots. Our local law enforcement does a great job, but for the most part is unaware of this proven system. Folks, when the first shot goes off, it's too late. We have failed. If a local threat assessment and management process had been in place at Parkland, we may not have lost 17 innocent lives that day. It's time that we do something substantive to protect our children instead of politically charged rhetoric. Let's work together and use the tools at our disposal. The truth is, we need your help. And while those affected by these tragedies continue to be in our thoughts and prayers, now is the time for action. My hope is that every member of Congress would consider the TAPS Act a priority. Together we can connect the dots and save lives.
Well, how slick is that, huh? I mean, it's like an infomercial. It's an infomercial. There's a lot of money that was invested in that video. It's not you just, slap it together video. The archival footage, they had to move you from scene to scene, high definition graphics. So somebody's invested money. That video was from last year, but that bill is still kicking around. And every time we have a shooting, that bill gets more and more to the people that are appealing and sponsored the bill, but the people that can vote for that bill. Because if you look at sort of the moral foundation of that bill, if you vote against that bill, what does that mean? That means that the blood of whoever is shot and killed in a theoretical shooting, usually happening on a Friday, that blood is on their hands. And if that's the case, then it could be very difficult to be reelected. Extremely difficult to be reelected. That could be an issue. Because let's say, for instance, your opponent uses that against you in an election. Say, well, Mr. Al, didn't vote for the bill. He didn't vote for the TAPS Act. And of course, we had a record number of shootings and the death, the blood of those children or those innocent victims, those parishioners, fill in the blank, is on his hands, okay? It's one of those bills that you kind of have to vote on. Because if you don't, it's going to come back and boomerang on your hiney. That's what'll happen. So, but it's a really, really pernicious bill. I mean, they're basically taking large tranches of information, stuff like this, right? This broadcast, what I'm talking about now, and they're connecting it up and linking it from the national level, which is really a global level, since the global information network and system isn't just the NSA or the FBI or the CIA. It has back ends and is shared with our good friends over in the Middle East. Since they're running the program, they're the spine of the data network. So they're getting everything. So it's not just this country, it's global. But at a big level, at a federal level, now it trickles down into the local level where information is disseminated. Now, in order for that information to be disseminated, there has to be an infrastructure in place. And that infrastructure would involve computers, involve. He's, traditional on the abortion side of things. I'll bet he's for fluoride, though. I bet your ass he's for fluoride. So he'll check a few boxes, but he's using the church shooting in Santa Fe, Texas. I should actually drive down there one of these days. Just kind of ask around. That'd be an interesting thing to do. Anyway, I wanted to bring it up to you. It's really insidious. It is pre-crime. It is pre-crime prime time. That's what it is. And it's about, number one, recognizing potential threats and then eradicating them before they become actual threats. This is where things are headed. And supposedly a Republican who is into freedom and rights, he's a member of the Gideon Society. So the Gideon Society passes out Bibles for free. And you would think that this guy might be hooked into this little concept about the mark of the beast and information and chips and the all-seeing eye and the ubiquitousness of the surveillance state, but apparently not. And usually that's a case of somebody having some other allegiance or alliance. And I'm not saying the guy is a member of a lodge, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least. Wouldn't surprise. He's an Aries. He couldn't take no for an answer. See that's a really interesting definition of Aries. This guy was. It's like, I lost. Okay, so what? God bless the Aries. That's what they're here to show us. They don't get down. They don't let people get in their way. All right. I'm going to try to be economical with the rest of today's show. Let me just check in with you guys. I hate to see how much latency I have today, but let's just check in anyway. Let's see what we have here. This is an excellent show. It's choppy. I know. I'm trying my best to get up to speed here. And I'm employing new technology. I apologize for the choppiness. I promise tomorrow it will not happen. It will not happen. Okay? You have my word. You have my word. And it won't be choppy on the back end. So, all right. The other thing that crossed my radar is they are redefining pedophilia as we speak. They're redefining pedophilia. And they're redefining pedophilia with the language called age gap love. I don't know if you're familiar with this term. It's another kind of Orwellian thing, changing the language. Change the language and you get to redefine the meaning. So it's no longer pedophilia, it's called age gap love. And again, I apologize for the choppiness on this thing, but it is what it is for today. So there's an English TV series called Age Gap Love. And what they do on this show is they present people who wind up documentary deciding to date people that are much younger, considerably younger than they are. So here's the story. Age gap love, accused of normalizing grooming with couple aged 16 and 44. Now I want you to pay attention to these guys because I don't think they could get woman their age. If they, well, the only way they probably could is if they paid them. So this guy, right, fell in love with his best friend's daughter. Best friend's daughter. So he was a pedophile, fell in love with her at 16, branded a pedophile, and now he is with her 19. She's legal. So I'm just going to run through a couple of these pictures for you guys. There he is. Look at this. There he is. I mean, he's a toothless fucking wonder. You know, yesterday I picked up a comment which was, you know, Robert